And we are live. Meryl, we are live.
Welcome to Talking in Stations, a podcast about EVE Online. I'm Matterall, and with me today, Elise Randolph.
Hey, how's it going?
We also have Titalis.
Hey, good morning.
Titalis. And of course, our initiative engineer, McLeod. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. How are you?
Good. With us today, we're going to have a great show. We're trying to get both sides. So we have Pando with us from the initiative. He's a fleet commander.
Hey.
And we have the leader of Test Alliance, Villy. How are you?
Good afternoon, Matterall.
And a little bit later, we'll have a special guest. Fulcrum will come in, and he is one of the leaders of Army of Mango. So he'll come in a little bit later. All right, let's set up. Let's set up this week. What happened this week in EVE Online? Elise, can you walk us through some of the summary or something to get context on the war? You there? Good.
All right, I think I keep dropping out, unfortunately.
Oh, bummer.
But I mean, the TLDR is the Pandemic Legion, Horde, and NC Dot deployed over to Hopib over the weekend. That's.
Oh yeah, this is definitely freezing up on you. Let's try this. Elise, can you shut down the cam maybe? All right, well,
like that.
Yeah, we're just getting pieces. Maybe if you shut down the cam, try that.
Lighten the load a little bit.
Oh no.
Yeah, now
All
we
right,
can hear you though.
Well, I mean, that's good. So anyways,
Oh, I feel for you, Elise.
All right, that's too bad. We really need Elise his insight on this. Try one more time, Elise.
I feel like I'm rehearsing like a high school play. I get to say the same things over, but with more swag each time. So basically, hopefully, I'll knock on wood this time. Hopefully this one works. Though I fear it's not.
We can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, so basically all that's happened so far for the PL, NC and Horde side is that they've deployed from the north, from LXQ and R10, where they were living before, over to Hopib, which is Losec Iridia, which is one jump away from Initiative staging system in IGE and Fountain. So basically, PanFam is on the front porch of Initiative's house. And there's been a little bit of fights going back and forth through the night. Mostly Initiative has been disrupting the move up by killing Sinos, making PL and NC Dot actually form every time they want to move someone into system. There's been a few skirmishes over the jump bridge in D4K, which is right next door to Hopib. And so that's been the extent of it so far. I think Initiative is probably slightly winning the IS score on this one. But in a fight like this, the IS score probably doesn't matter too much. I think both sides are having quite a good time. They both feel like they're accomplishing something. Initiative is definitely disrupting move ops, but PLNC Horde, they're definitely getting into system anyways and starting to get situated.
What is going on in the south? So that's happening in Fountain area. That's kind of the northern. Let's call it the northern theater of this war that's just beginning. And what's going on in the south? Any idea?
So the legacy group, they had the NIP, the non-invasion pact, which ended yesterday, and so they've been posturing without being able to do all that too much. They have anchored a Keepstar in FAT-GP or FAT-6P. I call it FAT-GP for some reason, which is a kind of a historic EVE Online system. It's in Ketch on the border with Quirius. So it's very important that Keepstar comes out or like comes to anchor or onlining at 2200 later today. So it's kind of after Villy's big speech to his coalition. So imagine there's going to be some fireworks there. That's likely going to be an area where there's going to be a lot of legacy, a lot of super caps going to be there. On the fighting around Quirius is probably where it's going to take place. The Imperium, though, not to be left alone. They've actually done quite a good job after their big State of the Legion or State of the Alliance coalition, State of the Imperium, fireside chat, whatever they call it. Sorry, these names all get like mingled in my brain.
I think it's State of the Gunion, I think they call it.
State of the Gunion. Well, I think it's for the Imperium now too. Well, I don't know. But they've been harassing Paragon Sol, that area, which is mostly test renters. That's been off limits to them. I think they intosis the entire region yesterday. So there's been fighting back and forth on that front. I do think a lot of the fighting is going to be in Paragon Sol period basis Quirius to start off. And that's probably where you're going to see a lot of the action. But I don't know. That's just me on the outside looking in, trying to guess. I'm sure Villy has a war plan all drawn up.
Well, let's find out. Villy, you want to tell us what's going on here in the first few hours, or what's going to happen?
What's going to happen? That's a tricky question. I can tell you what has happened. So much as Elise said, the Goons did their State of the Union yesterday, right before the NIP ended. We anchored the FAT-6 Keepstar around 2200, so it gives people on the move ops, time to come get down and get in range. Right after the NIP ended, 0001 July 5th, Goons began mass entosis of Paragon Sol Esoteria. We managed to stymie almost all of the relevant entosis. Obviously, they did a ton of Paragon Sol systems. We used to have renters there. We have, I think, one corp of renter there right now. So obviously the ADMs are all very low. And to quote Matani, the floodplains will be flooded or something. So obviously, we're more than accepting of losses of floodplains. And with that being said, I'm not even sure if we will end up losing them. Goons then proceeded to repeat over and over and over and over again after their initial kind of wave of entosis to go in and attack jump bridges throughout the night. They lost, I think, 7 different fleet battles over the course of 4 hours. Asher was tilting pretty hard, it seems like. And after that, most of our FC team went to bed around 0600, I think. And they did manage to reinforce 6 or 7 jump gates. But the thing about jump gates is they auto repair. So they did pretty good though. Like overall, they definitely harassed a lot of the infrastructure around Paragon Sol Esoteria. They made an impact, and I mean, good job to them. So
a lot of iHubs were reinforced in Paragon Sol, looked like.
Yep. I mean, like, it's Troll and Tosis ADM2 systems, right? And most of Paragon Sol is far outside of Esoteria jump range. So, I was dancing around in my Tyrannus. I managed to solo kill a Bifrost with a crazy pod. I was pretty happy with myself. But it's just you decide what's worth saving, right? Like, can we save this? Yes. Can we save this? No. And that stuff really far out is really just not necessarily the key stuff to worry about. There was a couple important systems that were entosis, but not a ton.
Okay, so what is important for you to worry about? What are you focusing? Where are you focusing your defense or attack?
Well, I mean, obviously the G Magic regional system is a huge important iHub. OSIF next door with a Keepstar is an important one. Like the entrance constellation iHubs are all pretty relevant, and losing those would definitely suck if they can pull it off, which is certainly possible.
Okay, Pando, let me bring you in on this. What's going on with your guys? You're the FC for Initiative and one of the block FCs as well.
So like on our side, like I wasn't down in Paragon's Hall all that much. We joined them later on, and like I just had like 25 guys and did some distraction kind of work. But the fights against PanFam and Hophip and D4K were quite good actually, and numbers were quite even. I believe over the time, like over the next week or two, PanFam numbers will probably go up because they just moved in. But I think we did pretty well today, and I'm pretty confident for the next couple of days. But we'll see like how it goes, and I think our guys had very good fun, and yeah. And the fights down Paragon Soul, I mean, it's kind of weird, like how many people were involved. It was like thousands of people, and all that died was like around 100 bill, you know. So it wasn't about the fights themselves down there. It was about, taking the fight to Tarpi regions, right? Which obviously happened, which, might have been planned by the high command of the Tarpi leadership, but I don't know. So from our side, I think it's a successful first day, start of the war. So
yeah, it's a good start. I mean, we publicly predicted that mass entosis would happen yesterday, right? So it's not to say we didn't see this coming. It's
well, so my mom could have predicted mass entosing in a war, right? So it's like you also predicted, you knew from secrets into that we're gonna move our staging and stuff like this, which is complete, it's completely wrong, right?
Well, you did move your staging,
but not to 49-U, did we?
No, to PUIG.
Yeah, and you predicted we moved to 49-U. So
yeah, but you guys predicted we would invade your big Cloud Ring. I can make up stories and say they're true too.
All right, so you guys, your spies need some work. But so was this a surprise to you, Villy, or was this everything you were expecting? Because it seemed to get started at the very stroke of midnight, if not before. Actually, let's talk about that. Did this actually start before the NIP was broken, since there was no hour that you mentioned that it would be over?
Say that again, sorry?
The NIP, was it broken or was it intact?
They cloaky camped fat all day, or not fat, but the catch constellation all through the day. Asked Diplos if they could remove them. They pretended to ignore me, but it was like FC characters, and I was like, okay. So I just considered the NIP to be broken and dropped the keep start early. So like,
well, technically you broke the NIP a couple hours before when you bombed or tried to bomb our fleet while we were fighting PanFam, right? On a jump bridge. It's a strategic target. It's in our home region. So technically, right? It was you.
Like
to complain about the Keepster thing, you did the same thing. You killed the Keepster while it was in a freighter, and it was totally fine.
Cloaky camping, talking to Diplos is what I was going for. Like, but listen, the closer you get to the end of a NIP, the less the NIP becomes worth, right?
Exactly.
So, like, I wasn't like hyper worried either way, and I don't think they were. It's pretty mild. Like, if the NIP ended, like, I honestly expected it to be over like Saturday, Sunday, or we're in Saturday, Sunday, Thursday, Friday kind of time zone. Well, but
this happened last time too, Villy, where
NIP, as I said, the NIPs, the value of the NIP continues to go down the longer and longer, or the closer and closer you get to the end point, I guess you could say.
It's getting spicy in here, I gotta say. Like, it's just day one. I know Sapporo Jones from Test, I get leader of Test, I guess, or one of the leaders of Test. He called, I guess today, technically, Nip Slip Day, which made me chuckle really hard. I thought that's like some pretty funny messaging, because like both sides are like, oh, you guys are breaking the NIP.
Don't they call that costume malfunction these days?
Yeah, since Janet Jackson. But Sapporo's bringing it back, right? He's going to go back to Nip Slip days.
Someone in chat just brought up Pando ignoring that we kept diving into Ezo. Like, we always did that. It's hunting. It's normal business, right? And then also the entire thing, like what died yesterday, like so far that's all peanuts, right? So the big battles have still to come out and start. So
so the NIP didn't quite make it to the 4th or the 5th of July. It came up a few hours short, it looks like. And as last time between Test and Winter Coalition, there seemed to be some ambiguity about who actually broke it. I suppose, Billy, you're saying it doesn't matter. We might have broken it before.
To me, I'm kind of the only one on our side who's going to be declaring they broke it. Like any one of their random line members or FCs can declare, Test broke it. But like I got voted Diplo, they ignored me. Their FCs basically blatantly Cloaky camped, Fat after that request, and then Matani openly broadcasted about it. So I was like, okay, you could, Pando can make his claims. They can say we did the other freighter thing. Like in the end, I think both sides did pretty well keeping to it as long as it happened.
Mm-hmm.
I think anything else is like it gets so spinny and so like how do you put it? Tedious. I don't know how to put it.
Yeah, I wouldn't even say it's always spinny, right? It will always seem spinny from the other side, right? We will always think you spin it, and you will always think we spin it. It's just like it's a different point of view, right?
Okay, but it came close enough, right? It came within a few hours.
Yeah. Both sides did very well to keep it as long as they did. I think. I don't think either side would make a claim otherwise.
All right, I want to introduce. Go ahead.
No, I was just about to say the bombing thing. I came more across like I've been there before, right? You jump a gate, there's a fleet to be bombed. You don't think about it like all that much. So it's more like an accidental kind of thing, perhaps, but who knows, right?
Are you?
I mean, they're not showing up there by accident,
So you forgive Test, Pando?
Yeah, you're officially forgiven.
Okay.
For this one, of course.
Okay, solved. Let's introduce Fulcrum. How are you, Fulcrum? It's nice to see you. Can you test your mic?
It's push to talk, by the way.
Okay, so he'll have to probably set that up. Can we make it so it's not push to talk? That might help.
We could probably adjust that if need be.
Thanks, Titels. All right, we'll get to Fulcrum in here in just a second. Did Billy bail out here? Looks like he has to run. If he has to take off, it's totally understandable. He's got a big presentation to do at 1900, I believe, as he does the State of the Alliance for his coalition. State of the Alliance for his alliance and for his coalition. So he could only be here during the beginning of this. Pando and Fulcrum are here.
The 1900 thing, that's probably something that people might miss on. Their State of the Alliance or their legacy big meetup, whatever, like State of the Coalition thing is 1900. So the Keepstar was planned to be anchored at 1900 too. I'm assuming, right? And that's why they're a little bit annoyed by it, I believe, because it's now anchoring at 2200. So now you have all these guys gathered and you want to get them moved, and now it's 3 hours later, right? So it's like it's an inconvenience thing. So that's why this camping thing, even though nothing died, that's why it's a little bit of a what do you call it? Friction kind of point, right? Mm-hmm. Just to explain that.
To be clear, we anchored it exactly when we planned to anchor it.
Of course you did.
I mean, I will play the mediator real quick here. There are move ops that have been planned for over a week in advance that don't assume that the Keepstar's coming out at 1900. So let's just try and keep
I want you to think about the logic of this. Certain superfleets have to move across the entire galaxy, usually starting somewhere between 18 and 1900. Am I going to assume that they're going to get there within 10 minutes or 3 hours like it's planned?
No, what I assumed was actually that you anchored before the NIP ends, so it onlines before the NIP. And then also I thought, from the reaction you guys gave us, that you didn't expect anyone to show up for this thing anyway. And it's fairly hard to kill it anyway, so the risk is minimal. So, I don't know exactly. I can't confirm if it was planned, but it felt like that freighter tried to anchor this thing for a long time and didn't. And
well, I was the freighter, so I could tell you.
What was the freighter thinking?
What do you mean? What was I thinking?
No, I'm just kidding. Like if you were
Sorry, I need to zip out to another channel for a sec. I missed if they were because they were saying it was like not properly aligned and all a bunch of other stuff. So I was like trying to what smack talk did I miss here?
You're trying to do logistics while you're on the show. That's great. We appreciate you being here. Actually, I thought you had taken off, like you said, you might have to, which is totally fine. I think this came up. Panda was talking about the Keep Star that dropped. And first of all, where is that Keep Star, Elise? What are we talking about here?
It's in FAT, F-A-T. It's in Quirius. It's kind of right on the border. I'm sorry, it's not in Quirius. It's in Ketch, right on the border with Quirius. It's actually a pretty
super historic system.
Yeah, it's a historically significant system.
Goes all the way back to Bob. I mean,
it's one of the old Marginis, or not Marginis, Morio Fort systems now. Like it's a really cool system. Like one of my favorite videos is actually like called like Fat Camp from like 2007. With like Bob and MC like wrecking, I don't know who I can't remember who the enemy was at the time, but like it's a really cool historic system. It's got a ton of history behind it, and it hasn't really done anything in like 3 years, but it's
I'm firing up Eve right now, so we can take a look at it in a second.
Great.
One of the reasons it's so significant, right, is because it's got just a buttload of moons. Because back in the day, Sov was defined by how many moons you had. So if you had 51% control of the moons, you controlled essentially the system. So this system's got a buttload of moons. It's got some pretty good jump ranges.
Great security status.
Yeah, and so back in the day, like Bob used to camp this with. They had like a Sino jammer when they were being invaded. They'd have 3 cloaked titans on the jammer, and then they'd AoE Doomsday whenever anyone's tried to shoot it. So it's kind of a tough nut to crack. So when it finally fell, that's like when the war was won. Manfred Sidious, when he was not in PL or Test, he was in his own alliance called Cascade Eminent. He very nearly killed like a PL super fleet that was a small super fleet, I guess, like 6 supers, by playing some neat little Sino jammer beacon like shenanigans. So there's a lot of like cool historic stuff going on there. So it's nifty to see that this system is being used again. I have a feeling it's probably not like the most like strategic system, but it holds like a pretty big spot in a lot of people's hearts. So it's good. So
Keep Star going down in Catch in Fat system,
and that's presumably where the Pappy super fleet's going to be. I assume at least, because I know some groups have super cap move ops scheduled around that time, so that should be interesting. I'm sure after Billy's like legacy agreement, there's going to be probably a big fleet in there to keep the system guarded. So it's probably going to be a really hotly contested system. I don't suspect that Imperium's gonna like kill the Keep Star as it onlines, but there'll probably be some fights over it. Keep them honest.
Why do you suspect that they won't kill it and there will only be fights on it?
I honestly don't suspect either, to be honest.
I mean, there's just going to be a butt ton of Legacy and PanFam and a bunch of people like defending it, right? Like this is the big jewel of the day, I guess, from the Imperium's or from the Legacy side. Imperium's day was yesterday. Legacy's day is today.
Yeah. So like the thing is to understand, like every single super cap should be in range by 2200 is roughly the expectation, which means that for Imperium to contest, they'll have to do it with like 1,000 subcaps against like 1,000 supers and 1,000 subcaps, which is like the most, or they have to jump their super caps through a regional, which is like the least enjoyable thing somebody could imagine to do, right? And it's a terrible tactical position. So the likelihood of that being a thing is very, very low.
And the last thing you want to do on day one is to whelp a bunch of supers, right? Like that's kind of hard to narrative away. Like so far, we've seen a lot of posturing and narratives being drawn up so people can, keep the momentum going. Even earlier today, like even on this show, you have Pando and Billy kind of like laying out the lines a little bit. Not to call them spin masters, that's not what I'm doing at all. But they're setting things up for like motivating their members for a long haul, like months worth of fighting.
Wow. Okay, let's bring in Fulcrum. Are you able to talk yet, Fulcrum?
Yep, I think it's good, right?
Hey,
Yes.
here we are.
Very good. Thanks. Welcome, Fulcrum. Can you tell us what Army of Mango's position is in this war, just to introduce you guys?
So the Army of Mango mainly taking up the defense missions. So we don't yet have anything planned to attack Imperium. At least they really don't have any plan for us yet. So we will be in charge to defend Paragon Sol and the Esso, I think.
Oh, you have your work cut out for you because there was a lot of timers created last night, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Are you you want to talk about Paragon Sol and how you plan to defend it, or what you plan to do if you defend it?
No, I don't think it's appropriate to talk about it right now, right?
Yeah, definitely not your plans. Yeah, but you will have probably some defense of Paragon Sol.
We will help Tess to defend it for sure.
Okay.
I saw Dark Shrine there. We talk a lot, but I don't know if we will meet again in the battlefield. To be honest, I don't think the Paragon Sol timers matters really, because most of the timers are renters. I'm not sure. I can't tell. I can't tell you that's if we're gonna defend it or not. But I don't think goons would take it too serious about the Paragon Sol, at least. Most of it, at least, I think.
Okay, but you're on the record. Army of Mango is with Legacy, as you have been friends before, and you're going to help them defend their space.
Yes, we have a mutual defense pact, I think it was called. So we are obligated to defend the Fire and Legacy space from anyone. Yeah.
All right. So Elise or Pando, what do you think is the early stage here, and then where do you think the next stage of the war is going to develop? Like, what are we in for?
So I'm just gonna go first because I'm guessing. Pando knows, so it's cheating, right? So I strongly suspect that there's gonna be like groups from the Imperium that are gonna deploy to the back lines back north and start harassing like Horde space, NC space, like that entire area up there, to kind of ease the pressure a little bit and create like other timers where the invaders will have to bounce back and forth to decide what they want. Because that's generally how these things play out. So I think that's going to be the next stage, and probably not in the next day or so, but in the next week or two.
Well, I can't really talk about it, to be quite honest, right? Like, the surprise factor is real. Like in a lot of times, like the attack like last night when the nip ends like 1 minute after. I think Legacy and the guys, they got like a couple days, maybe 2 days notice of this before they even knew like there's going to be like a bigger, scale invasion kind of thing going on. So I think if you give them too much time, then, maybe they defended better. So I don't want to get in the way.
Right.
And
but we don't
need coalition leader or anything.
Right. But
I'm just some FC. So
you're not just some FC, but you're maybe not the coalition strategist, but you're not just some FC either. Let me go back to Elise. Just in general terms, when wars this big happen, what are some of the tactics that we should look for? Maybe not tactics, but strategies that are employed.
I mean, I'm an old boomer man here, so Pando's like the young blood who actually knows what he's doing. But back in my day, if I was shaking my cane a little bit, it would essentially just create a bunch of timers in areas that people will have to like want to make decisions on that are also far away, like from each other. So the attackers want to make timers in fountain and then period basis, right? Like you just want to split that region up a little bit. And so the defenders will decide a region that they want to keep. And then they'll make counter timers, as I was saying, in like regions back in the defenders' homelands. So it's just a bunch of timer wars and then making strategic decisions of what you want. And I guess it's kind of important to note as well, because I think a lot of the people haven't been in a huge war. Obviously, the FCs have, and a lot of the leadership have, and the content enablers have, but I think a lot of members probably haven't. So there's like a lot of narrative posturing, which doesn't mean that you're being manipulated or the leaders are manipulating. It's how people motivate one another. It's why the Mittani is so good at what he does. It's why he's been an alliance leader or a coalition leader of like the biggest, strongest coalition for a decade. It's why Vince Draken's still around. It's why Gobbins is still around. It's why Bliss is still around. It's why Billy's still around. Like these names go back all the way to when the servers turned on. And they're still around for a certain reason. And that reason is they're very good at motivating people to follow them. And they're also very like sound strategic minds. So it's a lot of saying, hey, we want this. Ha ha ha, we made you waste your time taking this type things.
So that's what we're hearing a lot of when you're looking at the propaganda or you're looking at the messaging coming from leadership. But on the ground, what you're doing strategically is pulling them apart by making them have to make choices. Take this region or take that region. You can't have both because they're too far apart. And the jump clone only works once a day, so you can't use that.
And you also want to create division, especially when you're the defender in a group like this, right? So the Imperium is this hardened like fist, right? They're not just like 5 independent alliances that work loosely together, right? They're an actual fist. And when you get hit with a slap, it hurts a little bit. When you get hit with a fist, it hurts a lot more. So they're already this cohesive unit. So their goal in the terms of like narrative and strategy is also going to be to split apart the groups that are attacking them, to cause division between like Brave Newbies and Pandemic Legion, or between Fraternity and Army of Mango, or between Test and Horde, right? Like that's going to be their goal, is to split those groups up a little bit so you can take on 5 individual alliances instead of one, big super mega coalition. So that's going to be their overarching strategy in terms of like narrative and I guess you could call it psyops if you want, but it's not really. Like that's just their goal, and that's what their strategies are going to be, right? So they're going to find the weakest link, or at least this is what I would do, right? So if you think Pandemic Legion is the weakest link here and you want them out of this war, you go to Pandemic Legion space and start harassing their citadels, their sodios, their like any space that they have, any renter space they have. You're like, just focus all on them. And then the hope is that they're going to be like, man, we're in this war that we don't want to be in, and we're taking all the brunt, we're out. I don't think that's going to happen, right? But like that's the type of thing that you want to happen. You find that weakest link and you put pressure on them until they crack, and then they're out. And then you have to deal with fewer people over and over again.
Yeah, I think a lot of times when there's like so many groups involved, it's not necessarily the weakest link or any of that, or that, the other side would push for that all that much. A lot of times it's just over time there's like tensions coming up. I can only imagine how many egos are in that room when like the coalitions like Legacy and Panther and all kinds of like all these FCs all in one room. Everyone has great ideas, and you have to find that middle ground. It's not easy, right? Sometimes that's the biggest struggle in like wars like that. So sometimes you don't even have to do anything. And there's already, like, if you look at the situation, for example, you said Fraternity and Mangoes, that's a weird situation for both of them, right? Fraternity, they're now helping Test in some way, and Mangoes, those are arch enemies. And you can find probably a bunch of these little grudges in like smaller groups too, right? Suddenly they're working with people they don't like that much, right? You can see that as a positive or a negative, right? You can say like, oh no, they're banding all together, or like it's only a matter of time till that's not going to work out. So I guess we'll see, right?
Yeah, and then what you want to do is you want to amplify these like these frictions. Well, I guess you don't want to, but I don't need to tell you. I'm telling the audience what needs to happen, right? Like, you know what that's going on. The audience. I'm not trying to like mansplain like invasions or anything like that. But for everyone at home, like you want to like find these divisions, these friction points, these egos that are like too big, and you want to just put a magnifying glass on them, right? And that's how you can manage momentum, right? So if let's say the Imperium suffers a big loss in a week, all they have to do is find some forum thread, which is going to exist. I'm sure it already exists, of some guy saying, "Man, I hate working with these guys." You post that internally and be like, haha, look what we're doing. Like the plan is working, guys, right? So that's what their path to victory can be. And it's the interesting thing here is the Mittani is not creating like when he has like goals for a big war. And I don't want to say just the Mittani. It's the umbrella group in the Imperium, right? They're not saying we have to take this one system by this one date to be effective. They have a whole bunch of different, possible win conditions, and a lot of them have already been filled by the time they make them. They just haven't been, published yet, right? So you keep those in your back pocket. That's your ace up your sleeve. When you need a little boost in the arm, you need a shot in the arm for a big op. You say, hey, this thing that we predicted is going to happen, it's already happening because of all the work you guys have done. Keep it up. And that motivates people to keep going, right? Because EVE Online, you can't pay people overtime to do these grind ops. It's like these people don't want like monetary ISK rewards or anything like that. You have to pay them in something. And that motivation is why these groups are like as amazing as they are.
It's a lot going on. It's not just the military, but all the strategy.
Yeah, the military, like the winning the fleet fights is only part of it, right? You have to keep people showing up to fill your fleets, which is the big part. Like there's never been an alliance that's died because they lost a bad fight. They've like died because the people don't want to join the FC anymore. Maybe it's because he lost a bad fight. Maybe because someone sowed some like levels of discord in there.
But saying that, most very notable and very famous FCs that people wouldn't even think twice on in terms of jumping into fleet in order to fight with, have lost pretty significant fights pretty badly as well. Like, and it's that capacity to basically pick yourself back up and carry on, which really makes or breaks an actual proper FC. Like I know Panda, you've lost your fair share. You've had your fair share of bad losses. Villy, I know you've had some some bad losses. I'm fairly certain at least you have.
No, I've only got dubs in my.
But every good FC, of notable worth has lost a fairly decent fight. But it's how you pick yourself back up and carry on. It really counts.
Well, one of the main things to look for in this war is how well people are staying on the field, surviving, sticking around. Again, not necessarily fights for territory, but they're fights for morale. And I think this puts Fulcrum and the Army of Mango in an interesting position because they don't necessarily have, what do we call it? They don't actually have an objective in this war, but since they are allies to Villy and the Legacy, they are supposed to defend the space, so they're going to defend. What's it like being in that position, Fulcrum, as far as being like a loyal member of a treaty of some sort?
Well, we have objective in this war. We have to defend the Legacy. We're happy to do it. But the more funny thing is, it's like you are watching a TV show. And I have watched this episode like 6 years ago, right? If you remember that, it happened already on Seniority. So basically all the Mango leaders are like, okay, come on. We know this, where is this going? Where this is going to end. But we're hoping that this time we will, end in a very different way, of course, if you know that the Imperium or the PIBC, the Seniority version of Imperium, it won.
Yeah, this is in Serenity, the Chinese server, which you're familiar with. So go ahead.
I gotta tell you, on American TV here, we have the racy TV shows. Like we get the crazy endings. It's awesome sometimes, man. You can't wait for the ending of this show.
Oh, go ahead, Fulcrum. What is that? Tell us about the Serenity situation that we have seen before.
So the situation on Serenity at that time was every single alliance attacking Mangoes, except Windy Vici. If you know them, they're in PanFam right now, but they're still allies with us, both on Serenity and Tranquility. And so everyone was attacking us. The difference between PIBC and the Imperium is, I'm not saying anything bad about Imperium, but I don't think Imperium has the top tier fight capability on Tranquility, right? If you give it a rank, I don't think Imperium will be in the top 1 or top 2 with the same number, because Imperium are going to fight in the same number against the rest of the universe, right? So back on our situation, like PIBC has the Windy Vici probably is the top 1 PvP alliance on Serenity, and the PIBC probably will be the second. So we barely lost any battle. It's a long war. I think it lasts like almost 4 months, but that's a long war on Serenity, that's for sure. The Mango barely lost any battle. I can count like 2 or 3. Even in a battle that we lost a Titan, we still get objective down, and is positive. So I think the challenge here is, yes, the Imperium definitely gonna find a crack within Legacy and the PanFan, and between Mango and the Winter Coalition. That's for sure. But I think everyone is very clear that if we don't win this war, what's gonna happen next? Mango know better, right? And everyone else would know. So this crack won't be easy to form as long as we can win all the fights. So in the end, all this crack and strategy has to land on the military power. So I have seen that, I have noticed that last night, if I'm correct, Imperium formed like more or less 2,000 people, right, Pando? 2,000.
I'm not actually sure, to be quite honest.
1250 was the high number we were giving them last night.
Okay, so I think that's nowhere you can compete with the combination of Winter Coalition plus Legacy plus Fire plus everyone else, Mango, right? There's no way the number would match up. Not talking about the fighting skills. The number is too far away for Imperium right now, right?
I would argue there's always a way. There's always a way. The thing is, it depends on, like, do we have to fight everyone all the time everywhere? That's the thing. Like, it's not like, I mean, we can fight Mangoes. We fought a couple times, right? And I think we did all right. So I don't know what that's comment about the quality was meant to be, but
well, Panda, the point is that the Imperium is outnumbered, and they're not the same tier fighting force that PIBC was on Serenity.
Yeah, I get it. But at the same time, Serenity is a way different server, I would say, right? So,
but you kind of want it to be the same, right? Because Serenity is the one where the Imperium won.
Well, if we're talking about raw numbers, right? This is one of those things. If we're talking about raw numbers, you have to also understand that Serenity is literally a single time zone, right? Fulcrum, you guys were fighting on a single time zone, like everybody. Well, I mean, relative single time zone. Like China does cover a fair amount of time zones itself, but you generally tend to have like a single fairly significant time zone to fight over. Whereas
I think
this time zone is pretty significant because it's almost 24 hours of fighting, right? Like 24 full hours of fighting. So saying that you have X amount of number versus Y amount, like Y number of people fighting, like you do have to kind of break that down time zone wise.
Sure, Fulcrum can tell you all the joys of the Chinese, like the Asian time zone community, how much they hate the time zone tankers and all the rest on Serenity, and how evil it is. I think you might be surprised quite significantly how much multi-time zone war there is on Serenity. Maybe Fulcrum can speak more to it.
Well, there is. I'm sure, but it's not on the same scale, right? Over here, we've got
Well,
whole sessions being in a different time zone. That's a different ball game, really.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
all the
Well,
groups, you know,
hold
I
on,
think-
Pando. Before we pull it apart, let's let Fulcrum finish his thoughts on how he's comparing what happened in Serenity to what may happen here in Tranquility server, and then we'll talk about it after that. Go ahead,
Okay.
Fulcrum.
All right. Sorry, Pando. So on Serenity, we are doing multi-time zone thing. So basically, the weaker side would turn all the vulnerable timer to the 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning. That's right. And the offensive party would attack you in the very early of the morning. That would definitely happen. Imagine that everyone in the same time zone, but would you like to fight them in their prime time? No, you're definitely not gonna do that. You're gonna fight them in their weakest time zone, right? So different alliance has different group of people. For example, on PIBC, most PIBC, the Mango, of course, the Mangoes are in their 30s or 40s. They have family, right? They have they're older people compared to, let's say, Winter Coalition. Winter Coalition is mainly like in the university or in the 20s of their age. So you'd want to take that advantage of the time zone. That's for sure. For example, like when I was in the 4-night-U6U fight, I can fight all night. I fought like 20 hours at that time, but I can't do it right now. Even it's really important. So back on the subject, back on Serenity, how did this war end? The Mango leadership made only one choice, and because just as Eli said, you have to find a breaking point, right? Sorry, phone call. I'll be back in 5 minutes.
Okay.
Sorry, 5 seconds.
All right.
I'm back.
Oh,
Okay.
5 seconds. We can wait. Yeah, we can wait 5 seconds. Go ahead.
So what happened was we have to you want to strat breaking point in your enemy, right? That's what Elias just said. You find a friction, whatever, right? That's the same meaning. So what happened was there was several small alliances just right next to PIBC. We picked them up, we killed them right there. So we don't care. We lost the whole curious, okay, and the period basis. But remember this: if we win this war, you will get everything back. And that's exactly what happened. So PIBC picked up 2 weak alliances, and we shared them in pieces because it's a big area. It's a union, right? They're not like a fist, like Imperium, like PIBC does. So we can pick up those small ones and just kill them, and the rest of them would just, how to say that, you will have a breaking point, right? In the end, they were forced to have the super capital battle. When you are forced to have that super capital battle, you're gonna lose it, because when you lose some titans, people are gonna start to jump out and just log off, right? I think if the Lexi and the PanFan can avoid that, then the Lexi and the PanFan will win. If Imperium could pick up some small alliances within this, then the Imperium would win, definitely. So in this case, I think it's not coincident that Imperium is attacking the Esso and the Paragon Soul. The Imperium is picking up test. The winning point for the way to win this war for Imperium, in my opinion, is to pick up test, kill it right in the Esso. Then the whole Lexi PanFan allies would breaking apart. Everything would show up, right? The Fire might have problem. The Winter Coalition might have problem with Mango. Everything will show up. But before that, I don't think these allies would breaking apart. So I think the most important part of this war would happen in Curious, in Fountain, and in Paragon Soul. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna say. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Pando, you waited patiently, and you want to comment on that?
I actually, I don't even know what my point was when I just wanted to say that, it's probably too easy if you compare the two servers. I don't think you can compare them all that easily. Right? It's not like the situations are very different, and I don't think PIBC has ever been under attack on the scale, right? So I don't think there's even enough players on the server to do that. So to compare the two situations, I'm not sure if you can do that easily.
I think he was trying to speak to human nature, and he was saying,
Yeah,
if you break
maybe.
the man, then the man is broken at that point, and that it sort of ends that part of the war. And he was trying to draw a parallel on that.
So basically, it was kind of like similar to what I was saying, but also the exact opposite. So, and it's a really interesting take too, right? So it's Fulcrum's point was, mine was, you go after all the other allies and leave Test alone. Fulcrum's point was, just crack Test in half, like just go after them first, and then the allies will be like, meh, and just ditch and just let Test die.
Yeah, so instead
I think that those are the two like opposing views, but where the theater of war is going to be the same, I think, regardless.
So the like contradictory kind of theories is essentially, Elise is saying like, a good strategy is divide and conquer, right? Whereas Fulcrum's basically saying you want to cut the head off the snake, essentially.
Maybe it's the weakest link, and you're still right with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the weakest link.
Maybe to recognize what the actual weakest link is. Is it the smallest group? Is it the group that's like the worst, like fighting wise, or is it maybe the group that holds the most risk, like just from a morale standpoint, right? So you could always make that argument there. So technically, it's similar.
If we want to read into it a little bit, I think the Mittani views NC Dot and PL as the I don't know, maybe not the weakest link is the best way to put it, but the most indifferent. And I think he's just trying to, like, the initial wave is going to be trying to get those guys to just get bored and leave, because that's kind of like the PL MO, especially when it comes to Test. I don't think it's going to work this time because it was a different PL. Like, PL changes quite often, right? And to the people like wondering why I keep talking about PL, that's my alliance, so that's the one I know the most about. Obviously, I've got the most insights on. I don't think they're the most important. They're probably just a cog in the wheel, like every other alliance. But I think that's where the Imperium views as the weak point, rather than going straight after Test. But I have no idea, and it's going to morph as time goes on as well. There's one thing that the Mittani does really, really well, and that's being able to gauge how, like, what the mood is of his opponents. It's something that he's done from the very beginning of his EVE Online career, and I think that's kind of been his specialty as an alliance leader and a coalition leader and coalition builder. But as he started, he was the black hand, right? He was the intel guy in the original Goon Swarm. So I think that's where that's his bread and butter, if I'm trying to get to my point.
Yeah.
So I think he knows very well, like, where he can read the tides very well.
Okay, so those are some of the things that are happening. That's some of the strategy. Let's move into a different area here, and that is comparisons to previous wars. This one feels different, feels big, feels server-wide. This is like a world war. Not to jump into anything, but this does feel like a lot of people are involved that have an interest. Can we compare this to any other time in EVE Online server?
This feels like Delve 2 to me. Like the second war.
About what year was that?
Wow, like 2008?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a long time ago. It doesn't feel like World War B or the Casino War, like the most recent one. I don't know why. I'm just not getting that vibe. That one felt a little bit more organic and snowbally. This one feels like the battle lines are drawn, we're going after enemies, and there's like quite a bit of vitriol on both sides, which I don't think was there in World War B, or at least not to the same extent.
There was vitriol. There was definitely vitriol in World War B, I'll tell you that right now.
So this saying World War B had even more vitriol. It's just that it was so much more snowbally. There was so much more, right?
This one
was very
like
deliberate.
Yeah.
At least this one feels very deliberate, very planned, as opposed to something that is gaining momentum and getting out of control and growing bigger and bigger.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyone else? What's this remind you of? What kind of parallels can we draw to other wars?
I'm just going to quickly put up the Sov map from 2000, like early 2008.
Yeah, I would have
Just so
said,
people get an impression.
2007, 2008 sounds like a pretty good parallel.
Because I'm trying to let people know that haven't been here before, but they've heard of EVE Online wars and they've heard of campaigns and stuff, like where this one feels like it compares to previous ones.
Also, Pando, if we're like running over you, that's not the goal, right? So just interrupt us. You're really polite. So you can just tell me to shut up if I'm droning on.
If I have an important point, I'm going to throw it in. Don't worry.
Okay, I just want to make sure because we're kind of like ganging up on you, like in terms of like one side over the other, not intentionally, but
fighting on
you were just talking over him. Sorry, Pando, you have the floor.
No. I just wanted to agree and say like that's exactly how I see it too. The World War B, like the Casino War, it was more organic, and now it feels a little artificial, kind of planned, but not like too planned. So
This is what we do on summer of 2020.
Okay, so we're going to have a special guest here. It's going to be Naros from Fraternity. He is not from the Serenity server, but he is also part and leader of a Chinese alliance. So I'll bring him in now. Does he have to have push to talk, by the way? Hi, Naros. How are you? Can you?
I think he had to quickly restart his Discord or something. There he is. He's back in.
Oh, I see. Naros, are you able to talk, by the way?
Yeah. Somehow I'm streaming.
Yeah, we're live right now.
Yeah, you're live now, just so you know. Okay, we're finishing this last question, which was, how does this war feel compared to other wars in EVE Online history? Are there some parallels to draw from?
To the other war. Let me check why I'm streaming.
Well,
he's doing that. Anybody else want to compare?
There's a lot of ways of being able to compare and contrast, because it's not just the numbers game, the disparity in numbers between one group and the other, and the amount that one group is dug in versus the other. There's also the psychological layer. There's also the obviously Lee's kind of said sort of the psyops kind of style layer. All of the propaganda that's going on in the metasphere kind of thing. So there's a lot of ways that you can potentially compare and contrast.
I will say, well, we're waiting for Norris, whenever you get here, just cut me off. So if we look at the last big wars, there's like the Casino War, which Pano and I both felt a little bit more snowbally. Then there was the Halloween War, which was kind of like a proxy war, because everyone was fighting like way over there in someone else's backyard, so no one really cared where except for the Russians, no one really cared about the space that was taken or the overall objectives, and like the big huge BTAG-R fight didn't ultimately matter that much in the scope of things. And then there was like DRF versus the old Northern Coalition, but that felt a little different too, because the Northern Coalition felt like they were on their last legs and ready to fall down. The Imperium does not seem this way at all to me. So the closest I can get is Delve 2. And I also kind of forgot AAA versus Honey Badgers. That was kind of like a third of the groups or a third of New Eden was fighting, instead of like a total server-wide war.
Was it Delve 1 or Delve 2 where like essentially your strategic index basically denied the enemy from being able to, basically create beachheads?
I think it was both of them, right? It was called like Solve 4, where if you controlled the constellation, like no one could touch it for 3 weeks.
Yeah, that particular one.
Okay. So clearly, thanks for bringing. Maybe we should go into and do just a special on previous wars, and then people can draw their own conclusions on what some of the comparisons are and where this one fits in. Obviously, this war hasn't been fought yet; it's just starting. But I like that point that you bring up. This feels very much organized, planned, and upfront. The rhetoric's right up front. There's no snowballing that's getting bigger and bigger that happened with Casino War, World War B, or what I call the invasion of Imperium North. This does have a parallel in that it's an invasion of Imperium South by more than one adversary. So there are some parallels there. Okay, so there's other stuff going on here. Noros, tell us first what your position is on the war and what Fraternity will be doing.
Yeah, sure. Fraternity in this war is a ally for Legacy. We representing part of the force from Zhong region, and definitely we'll try to help Legacy win this war.
Right. So you're
despite our relationship before the very last war. Excuse me. Yeah, like we fought TAS twice, 3 times on a full-out scale, but at this point, I believe it's still better to eliminate one of the opponents out first. In this case, Goonsworm, I think. Yeah, but we do coordinate it and plan thoroughly. But I've noticed that Imperium has picked up quite a lot. Maybe it's because it's the war surgerings never happened before. Someone has ever challenged. It's been 2 years, right, since the last war would be, and a lot of old veterans coming back, or because they have a single unified command system, which is slightly different than ours. Which helps them to adjust quickly to whatever and counter to whatever we do. We dropped a keep start yesterday as our forward staging. And I heard it was a pretty risky move in the end. Somehow Goonsworm knew about it. So yeah, that's kind of proves my plan.
Wow, the fact that Pro God literally said it out loud at one of the town halls was why.
Oh, really? He said the system? You told him the system.
We deleted it from the SoundCloud when we posted it publicly. He still fucking said it in front of 500 people, so we assumed it leaked from that.
Yeah.
Pro God and opening his mouth, name a more iconic duo.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pro God is fine.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're in the war too. I read the state of the alliance from Fraternity. And now what's interesting here is you have a complication because you, Naros, and Fraternity are not on the best terms necessarily with Fulcrum and Army of Mango, which is an ally to Legacy. Now, Fraternity is not an ally to Legacy. You're an ally to Horde and Pandemic Legion and Northern Coalition, but you seem to be working in the same direction, kind of. So what can you talk about?
Sure.
What can you say about that?
Well, to be honest, I came here to the show firstly because I want to roast Falcom. Sorry about that. No, but yeah, but after your intellectual conversation, I feel like we can be the weak link that get compromised by Mitani first. So yeah, I try to reconcile our current relationship, right? And I believe we're gonna do a more together, like the day after tomorrow when Paragon Soul will be out of reinforcements, and that will be the 2 alliances forced together in the same region, but not shooting each other for the first time.
Right, which would be very interesting. So you said 2 interesting things. I'll make a point here that you have considered Army of Mango an ally, so you've made them blue. Army of Mango is not going to do the same thing with Fraternity, but they will not shoot you first, I believe.
It's not quite correct, Matter.
Okay, so please correct.
So,
still kind of complicated.
Yeah, Norris offered to blue them. Obviously, there's massive history here between these 2 alliances, and
I interrupt you, really. It does not a rich history.
Okay, fair.
It's only been 1 year. Okay, I've never played on Serenity, so it kind of just starts from here.
All right. Well, the small amount of history I'm aware of is quite in depth. Let's say.
That's correct. I love the word.
So, anyways, within this motley crew of alliances and coalitions and whatever, one thing we had to be clear to understand is that, you know, there's no way we can force everyone to blue each other. For example, Horde is not blue to the majority of the legacy alliances, despite gonna, you know, be a large representative of people. So obviously we were not in a position. It's less ideal, but it's part of the reality, I guess.
Oh yeah, there's also history between fraternity and legacy. How do we get into these shows
Oh, yeah.
where we bring enemies together to like?
Nobody brings people together like hatred of the Imperium.
Well, is that really what's happening here? Is that?
Yeah, man.
Is that?
It's the evil empire. All these little pirate bands in the woods were uniting to bring down the king.
I was pretty clear that we need to overthrow our common slave owner. You know.
So
Well,
you can
it's advantageous. It's advantageous for you, obviously, Norris.
All right, thank you.
All right, I don't know where to run with that, but let's go back a little bit here because I wanted to go back to Army of Mango and Fraternity. So you said an interesting point. This is what I wanted to point out, that you're here to I don't know, to reconcile so that you can't be used as a weak link in this campaign. We were talking earlier about fracturing groups off the main body, basically reducing their will to fight, and therefore you fight less people and possibly win. And there is a divide between you and Army of Mango that seems like it could be exploited, and you're trying to say we should not let that get exploited, right?
Well, yeah, definitely. I can work on as fast as I can.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to the defense of Esoteria and Paragon. So I think that's imperative. Falcon's right. If there's any way that Mitan is going to win, he needs to be tasked first. And like before all of us, he needs to be tasked first. If TAS is lost half of ESO, I think that war is pretty much over. So we can't let that happen. Despite what kind of history, where I couldn't let Esoteria lose a single IHUB. That will bring a lot of problem to the allies. Right, so don't worry, really. I got you.
So you're saying you can't let Test fall? That would...
We cannot.
Okay, interesting.
No, we cannot, because we
if Test
all
lost,
know,
then the war is lost.
Yeah, because we all know what happened in Sincerity, right? If Test lost, the Pando would be the, you know, king of the world, I think.
What, is that right, Pando? I mean, you'd be a pretty good king.
What do I have to do with this?
Pando may be hard, but he's fair.
You're like
I'm just here to balance it out somehow, you know, like a little bit.
You're like the Dark Knight
king. I'd be down.
Yeah, you're like a
I don't want to be king of that. Thanks.
No, I'm not saying you're the king. I'm saying
Holy Roman Empire, you know?
that evil dragoon who like stands at the side and he's like, "I will kill your targets, master." Like the most fearsome opponents, you know, on the side. Everybody's like, "Ah, oh, the Kingsguard Knight kind of guy." Something I don't know what to say.
Yeah, the Kingsguard, exactly what I want to say. Yeah, you're
the one in Game of Thrones, that the fat guy, the mountain. Yes, he never talks, right? Just like Pando, he's really low profile. He never brag about anything. He's really humble, but he kills people, right? He kills people without mercy.
No, I'm sure. I'm glad Pando's sitting down right now. We have to make
this show is already generating memes. I can see the Pando Mountain ones coming out right now.
And a leader is recognized as a leader.
Really
It doesn't matter whether or not they want to be recognized. It happens.
That's something I think all sides can agree on, right? The memes are really good so far. Like we're getting there. So
sure.
Yeah, but I'm afraid it might be too good sometimes. Just like doesn't feel right like the previous wars, you know.
All right, Pando, nice little duck into memes, right? Because everybody can agree on some fun stuff. But going back to you, you know, you're in a tough position even on this show because we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know, you and McLeod, our Imperium-based Cloud doesn't count. He's our engineer, but
Hey, I count.
You count, okay. But the as far as like the Imperium perspective on this war, do you guys also think that we need to break test? If we break test, we break this whole war?
Well, I think that's probably a possibility, right? So, like, if we had a magic button that we could press to just like kill tests, I'm pretty sure Mittens would push it, right?
Someone find the judge.
I don't know. I'm like Pando. What do you kind of what do you feel like? Do you think he would go with a magic button to just kill test, or would he want it to last? Would he want the pain to last a long while?
If he had the choice, like, you know,
Yeah.
if he had the choice, he would probably pick a longer one. But
he wouldn't exactly use a sword, but probably a spoon.
Well, if he knew the outcome, he would certainly choose the slow, painful death. I think would probably be the way he'd go.
Exactly. But if there's a free button right now with a guarantee, he would press it for sure.
Yeah.
And
well,
I think the war would be over then, because I believe like Test is kind of leading this, right? So if the leaders of this thing would just fall over, what's going to happen to the rest? You know what I mean? I do not believe that Panvam is like 100% in. It kind of feels a little more like, we are winning in this anyway, no matter what.
We are. You sure we are?
Yeah, I mean,
they are the leaders of this so much as that they're the catalyst for it. When the catalyst is gone, the other actions don't happen. Leading is a stronger term. I don't know that I would use that one.
No, he's talking. Did you say Pandemic Legion? Is that what you said, Pando?
No, what? Like I meant just PanFam. No matter what,
PanFam. Yeah.
Like they are winning in this war currently, right? As long as this war is between Test and Goons, or like Legacy and Imperium, like it doesn't matter to them what exactly happens right now, because they're winning, right? Currently, they're winning. So that's like, so there's a possibility that they're just deployed because, like, no matter what happens, they're winning. How much they're actually in this war, like, it's hard to tell, right? We will see, I guess, if they are determined enough to, go hardcore, like 100%. We'll see.
And that's the thing, right? That's the thing. Matter real quick. Like that's the point, right? Like it's about investment, right? NC.PL, Pandemic Board, like, yeah, they're clearly, as Pando says, they're the winners in this, whatever happens, because, their space is not liable or, in any way in danger of being invaded by someone who's right next to it. So whatever happens, like, they're essentially going to be coming out the winner.
Can I just say,
but because of that, just really quickly though, but because of that, they don't have the investment that, people who are potentially being invaded have in this war. Anyway, there you go.
I was going to say, I'm super jelly of Pando's position and like the initiative's position right now, right? You got a whole bunch of dudes coming at you, and you can like split them up any way you want and like put a lot of pressure on different areas. Like if I was super active in the game, I would want to be like in the initiative. I think it's like the perfect spot to be.
Why is that?
Oh, just because you have all these like ununified groups like running at you on your home turf, which is a super tough nut to crack. So I can go and be like, I'm going to stick the knife in Horde today. And then like, I'm going to go...
it's like food, right?
Mess with Fraternity this week. Or, Army of Mangoes, time to poke you. And I could just post wildly and get people all frothy mad. Like, it would be like amazing. If this was like some weird alternate timeline where I was like a super invested like alliance leader, I would definitely flip. And be on the initiative side. Like, I think that would be really fun. Obviously, not the case, right?
Weirdest compliment ever, but sure.
It is like Convict put it. The CCB Convict put it best. It's a murder buffet that the initiative have, right? It's everything's on the table. They can just choose whatever they want. Like, stab, and then you can just get to watch people like wiggle around.
Well, I mean, so far it's all PanFam and Hobbit, right? Like we didn't see any smaller groups do anything so far. So like it's a fairly unified group, I would say. You know, it's probably a tough fight for us. It's not like for free. So like all of PanFam versus In It Alone. You know, we can put up a fight. Let's see how far we can get. But yeah, I think our strength is actually not that we like the current situation. We don't have to worry about, right? That's the big point, is we don't have to worry about our Sov all too much, right? I think everyone knows, like, if Init would lose Sov, we're probably that one alliance in the game. We're big enough. We can deal with no Sov. Like we have done this for ages, like before we joined the whole coalition business and all that stuff. So even if we would lose, like nobody here is like gonna panic or whatever, right? So we can actually enjoy this whole thing, right? I think that's a big plus point for us, and yeah, I hope we will, right?
Weirdly enough, in actual fact, not having been in initiative during the days when, you know, you guys didn't have Sov, but like inside of the initiative, I do it comes up every so often, but like you do hear of initiative members who were, you know, obviously back in the days of initiative being a curse. Like you hear about that time very favorably in initiative. It's kind of strange.
Another thing that was interesting, I don't know if we covered it yet, losing track, but in Mittani's state of his alliance, or the Imperium, he talked about burying the grudge against NCPL, and he wanted to focus on test. And I thought that was a significant news-making moment there, because he said, you know, 14 years of this grudge, we're over it, we're done. We don't really care. We've defeated him so many times, along those lines. And then said, let's focus on test. That's who we're going to hate for the next decade, or basically. Do you have any comments on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree, right? Like it has been a long-lasting grudge, and it is significant that like it's now changing towards test. I mean, it has been test before, right? Not in the Fountain War or whatever. It was
this looks a lot.
Time, right?
This looks a lot like the Fountain War, by the way. Go ahead, Pando.
I was just about to say, like, when you were talking about like old wars and stuff, I haven't seen all that many, right? I've been in BTEC-R and like the Halloween War and all that stuff. I haven't seen all those old school like Fountain Wars and all that stuff. I haven't been FCing at the time, so I wouldn't even be able to tell the difference there. But yeah.
Villy and Elise, you guys have seen those wars. What do you think about that burying the grudge and going after test part of the messaging?
I mean, the way I interpret it, it's like we want to get these guys completely uninterested and get them out here. So we're just going to pretend we don't care about them. Like that's sort of my thing. If the Mittani goes and says, hey, NC. You are enemy number one, then I think NC. Just never leaves, and they just like hone in on this thing harder than you can imagine, and just go until they have no members.
But that won't work on NC, right? Like NC
I
has
think
a
it would, right?
Would it? I don't know. It seems like Vince has a hell grudge against Mittani. Like he would never leave an opportunity to pile on.
I mean, so if you make it reciprocal, then that hell grudge becomes like a forever hell war, right? If you say, we don't care about these guys, we don't care what happens to them, they're irrelevant. And then you just like sow some discord in there. I think eventually it paves the path for them to leave or to do other stuff that's more fun, quote unquote. So if there comes a point where, hey, PanFam, actually, I guess not PanFam, but NC.MPL, hey, we need you to do this in Tosis for 18 hours a day. Or PanFam, you can go over here away from the theater of war and get like 20 billion kills every 6 hours. I think that he's paving the way for something like that. Again, that's my view. Obviously, I'm kind of in the minority here. Everyone else thinks they're going after Test full strong. But I mean, that's what I would do if I was in the Mittani's position, right? And I think we kind of, I don't want to say we come up in the same era, because obviously he's better than me, because he leads a mega coalition. But I think we kind of come up in the same EVE Online era and the same type of thinking. like on how to divide your enemies, and that's why I would. That's how I interpret that comment.
Well, that calculation. Well, that's a calculation of like, opportunity versus fun, right?
Yeah, exactly. So you give them a way to distract from the main conflict, because that's been PL's MO for as long as it existed, right? Like after a few months of grinding, they get bored. If you dangle a cool carrot over here, they're going to go after it instead. It happened in the Fountain War, basically. So they're hoping for that. I will say that the PL has changed substantially since then, but it's an interesting tactic, and that's why I think he's going after it.
Okay, we have to let Pando go in just a second. He's got to take off. All these guys are going to be very busy over the next few months. Pando, do you have any last thoughts or words or anything you want to say?
Not particularly. Let's have some good fights, I guess. Right? Let's see where this goes.
See you in space.
This is just the beginning. So let's see what day 2 has to offer.
All right. Can I ask you one last question? Are you in both places? Are you protecting Fountain and coming down to attack period basis and all the stuff in the south?
Yes. I mean, we always utilize wormholes a lot. So yeah, we send some fleets down through wormholes, and we're considering like getting a second staging, which is another thing we traditionally always had, at least 2 stagings, sometimes 3 or 4 stagings, which is complete
4 staging was quite something to juggle.
Yeah. So we are thinking about putting a second staging in there, but we want to see what Ausens want to do. I mean, technically it's still on the attackers to actually make a move, right? So we're not going to burn ourselves out, imposing Soph all day. But, we're going to create some timers, yeah.
And one last thing before you go. Do you see this, all the strategy involved, do you see this as culminating in mega fights? More than one, or one mega fight with a ton of super capitals like we've seen in the past?
I think it's possible. I think it's very possible that we see a mega fight, but a bunch of things have to go right? Both super cap fleets have to be in the right spots at the right time. The objective has to be the right one too. Like, is it worth it? Like, do we actually see hostiles take that gate into Quirius with like all our supers and titans, and then actually move over to the Keepstar and ref that thing, right? And then are we going to jump in and defend that Keepstar, right? Is it worth it? Because the numbers are against us at the moment, right? So we'll see. There's a lot of things that have to go right for it to happen, but I can see that I can see it happen, yeah. Like
or something has to go,
maybe,
or something has to go wrong that you didn't plan on, and then you're stuck in it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that have to, like, I think there have to be more things have to go wrong than right. You know what I mean? I think it's like everyone, like nowadays, you don't have like, the possibility isn't there that someone fail jumps a Titan and then this kicks off, because there's this massive region jump in between. Test isn't even staging right next door. They're staging one sino jump away to then be able to jump at. It's like, it's too much of a stretch, I believe, but you never know.
You never know, but we will in a while as things heat up over the next month or two. We'll see.
Alrighty.
Thanks very much, Pando. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, and see you guys
anytime. Good luck. Okay.
Bye, Pando.
So there goes the mountain. Awesome. There goes the mountain. He's our hero. Oh wow, they're already happening. The memes are already happening.
Already took it to the extreme with the mountain and fountain.
All right, we'll just talk about how honorable and powerful he is at the same time.
I'm not sure whether I can actually put that up, considering like Twitch's policy of shirtless people. So
I mean, we're not shirtless, so I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, put that up. I think it's fine.
Well, it's on you guys.
Yeah, it's on us. We'll take responsibility. But the what was I going to say? By the way, the mountain is actually an Icelandic man. He's from Iceland, so it's kind of fitting. Okay, so Billy, you still there? Did you take off?
No, your meeting got pushed.
Oh, it did. Okay, so when is your like big announcement? Is everything still the same? 1900?
Yep.
Okay, and it will be streamed on which channel so people can catch it?
Pro God's Twitch.
Did you just see it?
Oh,
Ooh.
That's a great image.
all right. Okay, let's take that picture down and actually move to. I want to go back to Fraternity and Army of Mango and see if there's anything left there to talk about or resolve. Is there anything? I think it's going to be very interesting, and I want to just be clear on what your guys' policy is towards each other. You're both here to defend Test. You believe that Test is the key. If Test goes down, this whole thing goes down. You're not going to let that happen. Does that sound right?
Correct. Apart from that, I'm going to kill AOM however much as we can, but I'm not personally leading any fleet to their space because we are neutral and there will be instance, right?
So sometime in the future,
Unhappy instance. So I try to avoid that.
I didn't actually catch that.
Yeah, I'm saying like we're trying to avoid conflicts until Test it's kind of as at least we're kind of stabilized during the war.
Mm-hmm. All right.
What he's saying is that they love me and they want to help me.
Yeah,
Well,
pretty much. You're the only reason, really. Emperor God.
I love you.
Okay. See, McLeod, this is when you can't have shirts off, when things get like this. They get too friendly. Okay. Anyway, Fulcrum, from your perspective, you're going to help Test defend. You're not going to... I just wonder if there's, because that's one of the vectors of attack. I thought there might be some diplomacy reaching out to you because you seem like you could play a wild card in this whole situation. Maybe that Matani reaches out to you and says, look, you're not really on that team. You should actually switch sides. That's what I thought might be a strategic play. Have you thought of that? Of course you have.
No, actually no. So
You haven't?
yeah, the win and lose on this server, the tranquility, it's not really matter too much to Mango because we have Sonority to fall back on, right? The majority of our members are playing on Sonority nowadays. The most Chinese would choose to play on Sonority. Mango now has like 5,000 people in our prime time.
Mhm.
So I think that doubles Imperial's number, right? So you're asking me, would I flip side and be a dishonorable guy in this war? Yes, I could. Definitely could. Sorry, really. Strategy speaking, that's the best strategy for us, right? We just stand mutual and join whoever wins and be dishonorable, right? But everyone is watching. How am I supposed to face my Mango fellows on Sonority? They will just they won't trust me anymore because that's just dishonorable, right? We can lose on Tranquility, that's for sure, but we can't lose faith in our people. That's what I'm gonna say. So in this situation, we're gonna live with Lexi and die with Lexi. That's the point. So that's why we agree to put aside our difference with Norris, and we will fight in the same team of this war. Otherwise, I would just flip sides because I really don't want to, have anything to do with the coalition. That's the case. So in the very end, we are here be a guest on Tranquility. We are here to experience the Tranquility, not here to survive and be a shady people.
So your honor is more important to you than survival on this server.
Yes, definitely. We already have planned to end up in low sec already, so we're okay to do whatever it takes to defend Lexi. In the very beginning, let's go back to a year ago, roughly this time. When the coalition is attacking Mango, because they declared war on us, if I'm correct, right, Norris? So we could flip side at that time, and that would give Lexi a big hit, right? Because Lexi is, going 50-50 with Winter Coalition in the Chinese time zone. If Mango flip side, that would be, I don't know, that would be really hurt for Lexi, and Mango would get some, really easy life there. But we didn't, because if we do that, we will lose faith in our people, right? And that will create much bigger problem on scenario. So we won't do that.
Oh, just because the way Fulcrum says things sometimes don't always, because there's some people in chat calling Fulcrum's a Chad, and a Chad is willing to go die and fight and be awesome. And I love Fulcrum, and you should love Fulcrum because he's a boss. And if you don't like that, so be it. But you're not going to break our love relationship. So don't think otherwise, chat.
Many people have already tried to break the relationship between Test and the Mango, because that's obviously the good way to break it, to win this war. But it's just not going to happen, because it's before Test die. It's unlikely to end our ally, the relationship between two of us. To be honest, that's the case.
We're not dying, bro. We're not dying.
Okay.
All right.
Well, the one thing which I would say is, like, if you can, if you consider your time on Tranquility as being a guest on Tranquility, like, I do kind of hope that in some way, shape, or form, Tranquility does surprise you, compared to your experiences on Serenity. So hopefully that happens.
Yeah, you already surprised me, because yes, it's totally different culture and totally different experience, and of course our purpose is totally different. So the way we look at things are different. For example, Panda love to come over to Omist and hunt our locals and Nicks while we're really weak. We can't even form Muning fleets, and the first visitor in Omist is Initiative, and that's on almost daily basis back to the time. But we don't hate Panda, because that's just the game, right? We experience, they pop up our Nicks, they pop up our Rocco. It doesn't matter. It just simply doesn't. It's only for fun, right? Whoever the friend you make out of it, it matters. For example, Pando and me are on totally different side of this war, right? But I will always buy him a beer if he come and visit me. We're good friends, but he loves to hunt me, but we're still good friends. That's the experience I have here. I think many people can't distinguish that. They think your enemy in Eve is your enemy in life, but I don't really take it that way. Sometimes I do, if that goes personal. For example, someone doxing me, well, that's gonna be personal, right? But everything within the game, I don't hate them, so we can always be friends. For example, Elo Knight, I love my ass get kicked by him. I think, yeah, it's a child dream to have him to fight against him. When I was back on Seniority, I always dream, okay, maybe one day I can fight against Elo Knight, right, and get my ass kicked, and it happened, right? So for me on this war, back to the subject, right? For me in this war, I'm here to experience it. I'm here to see the how the Tranquility works. It's not serious for me, because I have to sometimes take things really serious back on Seniority, but not on Tranquility, to be honest. Mm-hmm. So we're not breaking our relationship with Test, that's for sure.
Well, people should know also, Fulcrum is formerly Rooks and Kings, right? You were in there. Am I right about that?
Yes, I am a director of Rooks and Kings. Even now, right. I still am, yeah.
You still are, yeah. You're high up in Rooks and Kings, and you were there for most of the stuff they did, I remember.
Yes.
So you've been around a while. This isn't new for you, but and this explains, you're the connection between Rooks and Kings and Serenity server, aren't you?
Yeah. I normally I give them like several titles and pop up pop people up on Fraternity in the middle of the night. Yes.
Got it. Okay. By the way, I like that part about you coming here to want to get destroyed by Elo Knight. I think that's kind of funny. Isn't that? It's kind of like.
I have to say this. Sorry to interrupt
Sure.
you. I have a list. I have a list when I joined Tranquility. My list includes PGL, include Wings, include Pando, include Elo Knight, and Killer Bee. And I can go on with that list. I want to fight against or with all these people. Because back on Fraternity, the way we learn how to PvP is either I learn from Rooks and Kings. Of course, they helped us to conquer the whole server. And from all those videos that Tranquility FC's made, right? So Elo Knight has lots of videos and Wings and like many, right? He's in test right now. I think he was in Northern Coalition. So all these people taught us how to do PvP. For example, we have a alliance called the Infinity Avengers. They are on Tranquility right now. They were basically, I won't say that because I would say that even they would hate me, but they will basically copy whatever Elo Knight was doing, the Jet Bomb, the Zealot fleet, and whatever in the end. So we learn in that way. It's like you watching a TV show that those people help you to, learn things, and you treat those people as your hero. In the end, it will be your honor to play with or against your hero. But it's just a game. There's no way I would just hate them or get into anything personal on Tranquility.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Fulcrum. That was good. And Noros, you too. It's really good to get that point of view for our audience. And as you can see, we had over 700 people tuning in to listen. So it's very important for us to allow you guys to talk about your experience because it's very interesting and unique. I want you to stick around if you can, but you can leave if you have to. Billy, I know you're under a lot of time pressure, but we're going to go to one last segment for just a few minutes here. At least we wanted to talk about the Proving Grounds. What do you know about those?
So this is a big change that's coming, right? So CCP is iterating on what's currently in the Proving Grounds right now. If you haven't done it, it's actually not that popular a feature, I suspect, because it's dominated by like 3 people. If you run a level 3 Abyssal Site or higher, at the end there's an Origin Conduit, and then there's a Proving Grounds. If you go into the Proving Grounds, it's like a little timed battle arena, and another guy comes in, you fight to the death, and it is good. But it's very limiting, right? Because you have to first go through this PvE room, and people have kind of figured out how to min-max it, right? So it's a lot of rock, paper, scissors, and a lot of people that just throw 20 billion in Ikatursa and win time after time after time. There's a guy named Sniper Bros 15 who's kind of the abyssal god, I guess. And if you're interested, you can watch Torvald, new CSM member Torvald. He streams it pretty regularly as well. But CCP is iterating on this feature because they kind of like the idea of it. So now you'll be able to, or I guess in a couple weeks, you'll be able to get these filaments. And if you activate a filament, you'll be able to go directly into a PvP arena against someone else. And the format kind of changes depending on the week. So one of the formats is like 2v2 where you're both in cruisers, or 2v2 where you're both in Imperial Navy Slicers, or 5v5 when you're in some other ship, right? So it's actually already in the dev blog, so you can actually read exactly what they are. But it's an iteration on that. It's kind of combining the filaments, the Yeet Fleet filaments, and the Proving Grounds into one feature, which is really, really neat. It's an interesting idea. CCP were quick to point out that this is not a replacement for the Alliance tournament, which I'm really glad they said, because it comes out at a time where the Alliance tournament preparation usually would come into play. So it's not a replacement, but it's an iteration on the Proving Grounds. We've kind of seen ideas of this pop up before in CCP. They had this idea called dojos. CCP Veritas posted about it 8 years ago, 6 years ago. I don't know.
Strangely enough, it got a bit of a frosty reception. Actually, I remember like dojos kind of. I think at some particular point, dojos were considered to be a little bit not Eve-like or not in the spirit of Eve in some way, shape, or form. But I think the Proving Grounds, as it's been, introduced to, to Eve players via Abyssal Space, has kind of like introduced this way of essentially having these 2v2s, 3 or 1v1s, or that kind of thing, but expanding and removing this requirement to go through like an abyssal run before you actually get to it, kind of opens up the ability for the potential possible fits and the potential possible kind of like opposition that you go against to be much more varied, which I think a lot of people who have been doing Abyssal Grounds have been like crying for quite some time now.
Yeah, people have been wanting an iteration on the Proving Grounds like really hard. The idea that I saw floated around was let the frigates get in there, because right now you can run the Abyssals in 3 frigates if you want to, instead of 1 cruiser. But this is like a double step forward, I guess, for that. I do know that a lot of, I don't want to say more hardcore players, but I think it does have a negative connotation to it, because it's like instance PvP or like Pokemon battles sort of type thing. But I don't think it's a bad thing, right? Like, I don't think it takes away from the game, and I'm probably going to get lambasted for this. It does have a lot that it can offer. Like, it's got a lot of potential, right? So if they just throw this feature in there and leave it for 10 years, it's a shit feature, right? I'll just call it that. But it has a lot of potential to move forward. It has a lot of potential to host competitive E formats that can be streamed, that can be enjoyed, where people can make a name for themselves. There's a leaderboard. Strangely enough, the leaderboard doesn't have like an ELO system or an MMR system. It's like just sheer number of wins. So if you're real bad, but you win like 30% of the time, you could just gangbusters this stuff and get to the top of the leaderboard just by
just grind it
all the time. Yeah, just grinding, just doing this nonstop. So it's a pretty neat little system. It's coming. I think it's on the test server right now. You can check it out. I think there might be an event, something about it. So keep an eye on CCP's Twitch page or Twitter page or Dev, whatever. Just all the wherever you get CCP news. Keep an eye on that. If you're interested in this, it is coming. Interested to see it. I wonder how many people are going to do this on alts while they're like waiting for a big fight to happen. Like, if they're just sitting on a Titan, they'll just tab over and just activate one of these tournaments so they get the shakes out of the way first.
Well, this is what CCP Fozzie said, because there are some criticisms here. You brought them up. I'll highlight them because we did a reaction show for this during the week. And we've touched on it a couple times since then and gathered some feedback. And we've watched CCP talk with people on our chat. And Fozzie was saying that it turns out that these kinds of features are additive because people fear this will take away from people playing in, let's say, the quote unquote real universe to play this instanced PvP, and therefore they won't be available for the real world. And he said, no, the evidence shows that this is additive, that people that wouldn't even play EVE Online will begin to stick around just to play this. There's some other stuff too. I think that's kind of interesting. I was postulating that, PvP prides itself on imposed PvP. In other words, you can't be anywhere in the galaxy where you're 100% immune from PvP. At some point, you can be attacked by other players. And I was thinking that could also be turned on its head, that another thing that's imposed on players is travel time. And you're taking that away here. Like, PvPers want to get right to the action. And one of the things that slows them down is travel time and looking around for finding that fight. And here you're taking that away. So the company's signaling that they prefer PvP over the imposed travel time, which tells me this is becoming less of a virtual world and more of an actual video game than was before.
Well, you still have you still potentially have your travel time from wherever you base yourself to wherever you're activating these particular filaments, right? Because nobody undocks from Jitter and activates a filament right on the undock, right?
I mean, Bjornby does.
Yeah, I think they do.
It's a special.
So one of the things about it is in EVE Online, especially when it comes to solo PvP or small gang PvP, a lot of the rush you get isn't necessarily killing the other guy. It's the thrill of the hunt, which this removes. But this isn't intended to replace it, right? As you said, this is an augmenting thing. If I have like 15 minutes and I'm like, I want to die, I just want to do something, right? We have options now where we can send small fleets into populated areas with the yeet fleets, and then those are one-way trips. And that's an iteration in my mind on the Blackout.
I think that's where the additive aspect of, CCP is talking about it. Like, instead of, thinking, oh, I have 3 hours, like, I can potentially do something in Eve kind of thing. Like, it's a case of, I've only got like 50, like maybe even not even 20 minutes, maybe I've got 10, 15 minutes, instead of going through an abyssal run and then trying to get to the proving grounds at the end of it, like just literally straight into a proving grounds and see what you can get out of 15 minutes rather than going to, say, for example, one of CCP's competitors for 15 minutes.
And the thing about Eve, like when you start playing, you kind of can't put it down for a few hours. So I don't know. There's a lot of doom and gloom around it. I see people in chat that are even saying, show me one game where instance PvP didn't kill the world PvP. This is completely different, right? Like this is a mini Alliance tournament setting in my mind, or a little mini tournament setting whenever I want it. This isn't like me PvPing and hunting and trying to kill some guy. I'm going to have fun with it. I think it's going to be great. I think the format's going to be interesting. It's going to keep people from min-maxing it all the time, as long as it's done right. So I think it'll be a nice little change, at least to see. And hopefully it's one step of many towards this type of gameplay, which, given that they're iterating on a current feature, I think it's safe to say that's what it is. So I'm very excited for it, and I can't wait to see what players get up. CCP Convict does mention, keep an eye out on Twitter or the EVE Online dev blogs, because this week they're going to do some more testing. I know last week they had some testing where CCP Fozzie and someone else from CCP just obliterated people as they came on. I guess people think Fozzie doesn't play or isn't good,
Oh my God.
or is rusty or something, because they just view him as a player that played 10 years ago. But he's obviously been active, and he's just been destroying people on the test servers. So you can. This is one of the areas where you get to fight against the devs and see how good they actually are.
I haven't fought against Fozzie in 8 years, 9 years, 10 years. Actually, Thunderdome was the last time I came across Fozzie, if he was in those fleets. He was part of PL at the time.
He's probably on his dev character or on his player character, just dunking all over people.
Which is Ravy? Is that, you think he has Ravy back?
No, I think he's got a new name. I think he's got.
Okay. So you won't know who's dunking on you.
Yeah.
Could be Fozzie. Awesome. All right. Well, and so look for that feature to come in. It's on the test center right now. It is, I think, coming from the perspective of people like Torvald, who are really good at the abyssal PvP. This is a sign that CCP did a ton of listening to players on how to improve a feature, and all that is in this new version of Proving Grounds, let's say. So look out for that as it drops pretty soon. I'm surprised that it's coming so fast, but probably within a month you'll see it go live on Tranquility.
I think 2 weeks, actually. I think it's on Tranquility in 2 weeks.
2 weeks. That's so fast. Wow. So that's going to drop in the middle of this war. That's going to be really, really interesting. See, people waiting for fleets will have something to do.
I hope, I just have this internal dream that Villy and ProGod just are sitting on a Titan somewhere waiting for stuff to happen to activate one of these filaments on alts, and they come up against Asher and Pando or something like that. And they just duke it out, and they're like, okay, whoever wins this one just wins the fight today.
So what, a champions match to end the war.
So it's guys, we can't jump in yet. We got something to do, as they're kiting around in Vexers trying to kill each other.
So I'm trying to look for this fight from Brave and Test versus Goons in Quarius, and I find it, but I can't find related. Every time I hit it, it only shows one ship. So I don't know if Z Killboard's on the fritz or something, but it looks like Brave and Karma Fleet are colliding. But
I think Brave just took it on the chin a little bit. Caracals versus Jackdaws. I think that's what happened.
Okay, well, it's smaller stuff, right? Not earth shaking, but thank you for that. I wish we could report on it. I can't get Z Killboard to cooperate with me right now. Okay, but we are pretty much over. And right now, at this very moment, if you want to see some stuff on, I believe it's Echoes, Who's a Fish from Talking in Stations is on our YouTube channel live. So check that out. This leads me to another announcement. We're going to reduce our service on Twitch and start to migrate over to YouTube. That's going to be our home going forward. It's going to be a transitionary period, but eventually we're going to have Talking in Stations be on YouTube. I just want to make that announcement here. I'll be announcing it over and over and over again. We'll do both for a while, but then we're going to end up on YouTube. That's where the future of Talking in Stations will be. Sorry, guys. I'm excited, but yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, we'll still do some live coverage here. Well, we're simulcast and stuff like that. So you might catch us on Facebook or Twitch, but YouTube is going to be the home of our videos and that sort of thing. And that's okay. We're going to develop an audience and grow it from there. So there you go. All right, guys. Thanks very much. I want to thank our guests from earlier today, Villy and Pando, Fulcrum, and Noros, who jumped in the middle of the show. Thank you, Elise, as always, for dropping the knowledge. Fantastic. And our engineer and engineer and host, McLeod. And then our chief operations officer, he's not the one that made the YouTube call. It was me, by the way, so don't blame him. Titellus, thanks for hanging out with us.
Hey, thanks for having me on here.
Our own personal wizard.
What's that?
Our own personal wizard.
Our own personal wizard. Yeah, thanks, guys, very much. We will wrap up today. It's going to be a long war. We're looking forward to it. And that's all that we have today. So we will see you next time on Talking in Stations.
Okay, yeah, on audio.